Last night when I went to bed, I was pissed off. There was no moral victories. I don't believe in that crap. There are winners, there are losers. The Jets lost last night. And the reason I couldn't sleep last night, we'll get to every aspect of this game. We'll give you our thoughts about the quarterback, Zach Wilson. But I went to sleep pissed off, angry, and cursing out these officials. And I'm sorry if that makes you think I'm a crybaby. If that's what you think, fine. I'm a crybaby. But at the end of the day, there was a non-hold call that should have been called. There was a BS defensive hold call that was made. And by the way, the flag came out 35 minutes later. There was an intentional grounding not called, that would have been called if the quarterback's name wasn't Patrick Mahomes. So I'm sorry. Yes, there's many, many other ways why the Jets lost this game, and we'll discuss it. But when I couldn't sleep last night, and I woke up this morning, and my 7-year-old said, "What happened, Dad? How much did we lose by?" And I said 3, and he said, "How'd that happen?" And I had to explain to a heartbroken 7-year-old that we got hosed by the officials. I didn't like doing it because I don't want to be that guy. I never want to be that guy, and I especially hate the guy who says they don't want to be a guy, and then they act like that guy. And that's me today. Because, Tiki, I am pissed off about the way this game was officiated last night.
I know you are, but officials don't decide games.
Did last night.
They don't. They contribute to an extent, but they don't decide games. Now, there were 3 in particular that you pointed out.
Yes.
The first one that you talk about, JJ gets held. That's on him.
Why? He got held.
As much as I want to say the offensive tackle should not, I forget what his name is, should not have been holding him outside the tackle box. You can't stop playing. He stopped playing and started lobbying to the referee. And when you do that, the referee's going to look at you, and especially when you're a rookie, he's going to look at you and say, what is he? Second year, and basically say, you know what? You didn't work hard enough.
Is that how it should work, though?
No, but
was he held, Tiki?
But that's what was he held?
Was he held?
But these guys are held on every single play. Every single play. And by the way, it would have been non-consequential because C.J. Uzomah molested the tight end in the middle of the field, and it would have been offsetting. Or without the call, it would have been a first down.
It would have been an offsetting penalty because of the Mosley illegal contact. And then Mahomes has to go third and 22 again. So, look, I can't assume this Jet defense gets off the field on a 3rd and 22 because God knows they weren't able to do it. But I can't assume that it wouldn't have mattered. Of course it mattered.
I didn't think that was an egregious no call. I know why everybody's saying it was.
Because it was.
Because when you stop playing, you got to make the official call it by running away from the offensive tackle, and there is an extension of your jersey. There's a clear impeding of your progress. But what he did was basically just stop. So, yes, he was being held, but without trying to get away from him, I hear you. I was more worried that the Jets were completely unaware that Pat Mahomes sometimes likes to scramble when you drop 25 yards down the field.
Yes,
right?
yes.
That was what I was more annoyed about.
Well,
force him to complete a short pass and rally and tackle. But don't forget about Pat Mahomes just because he doesn't run. The second one that you bring up is the
defensive hold on
Sauce Gardner.
Thrown, by the way, 5 minutes after the play and thrown after clearly Michael Carter intercepted the football. It was thrown so late, Tiki, I assumed it was on the return of the interception. That's how late that penalty was.
That one, I can't argue against. That was one of the worst calls I've ever seen.
Thank you.
Especially because in a game like that, where it's coming down to basically that drive, you can, as an official, call a ticky-tack one. Because that was a ticky-tack one. That was, he's got his hands on him. He's not really impeding him. And, maybe he got pushed himself, right? You can't call that in that situation. Now, what the hell Michael Carter was doing down there in cover 1, 8, 12, 15, 20 yards deep, I don't know. But I'll give him credit for the interception. That one was egregious. Now, the intentional grounding, this is the Jordan rules. This is
exactly.
Seriously, this is all right. Pat Mahomes is an MVP. He is a Super Bowl champion multiple time. He is one of the best, not the best quarterback in football right now. I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He tried, and they explained it well enough that it made his attempt to try to complete a pass seem plausible. But you just got to accept that one.
Yeah, well,
I know it's like one of the three, and it makes you like collectively it makes you mad. But
yes.
Pull them apart individually. The only one you should be really mad about is Sauce Gardner.
I agree. It adds to it. And here's the other reason why, while that call pissed me off, it didn't cost him the game. Harrison Butker's kicking a field goal either way. Whether it's a 26-yard field goal or it's a 36-yard field goal,
yes.
or even if it's a 46-yard field goal, he's kicking it. The Jets are going down 23-20.
That's right.
But I'm just being honest with you, because it's the one thing I always want to say to you and anybody listening, whether I'm right or wrong, is this is why I couldn't sleep last night. Now, does that make me an irrational baby? I don't know. I think I represent a lot of Jet fans who went to sleep last night thinking we got screwed, thinking we didn't get a chance to see Zach Wilson with the football in his hands. Now, let me get to this quarterback, and I'm going to try to explain this as gentle as possible to everybody out there. Zach Wilson far exceeded all of our expectations. Zach Wilson far exceeded my expectations. Zach Wilson, pound for pound, may have had the best game of his NFL career. I've given him a lot of kudos. Should I give him some more? Sure, why not? I'm not done yet. I thought his decision-making was significantly better, and I would understand how a Jet fan now has some hope going into next week against arguably the worst defense in the NFL. So Zach Wilson showed a lot of progress last night, and down 17-0, and the game really changed on the safety, but still, down 17-0, Zach Wilson out of nowhere led an incredible drive that made it 17-12. And Zach Wilson led another drive that Robert Saleh ended too early. We'll get to that later by not kicking a field goal. And Zach Wilson led maybe the best drive of his NFL career to open the second half, marching down the field, converting to Allen Lazard, and then punching it himself for a two-point conversion. Zach Wilson had a lot of great moments in last night's game. There are his flowers. Now let's get to reality. After that touchdown, that made it 20-20, and with Chris Collinsworth's jaw on the ground in shock, Zach Wilson did nothing. Now, you want to call me a hater for saying that? I have no reason to hate Zach. I want Zach to be great. I'm a Jet fan. I'd rather be wrong and happy than right and miserable. But on the final three drives of this football game, once he did lead them back and make it 20-20, I ask a very simple question, Tiki. What the hell did he do?
Not a lot other than fumble.
Nothing.
Now, here's my problem with you highlighting that, because they didn't lose this game because of Zach Wilson. Even though Zach took blame, and cynically you could say, yes, he should after what happened last year after the Patriots game. He took blame for this. But he didn't lose this game.
He greatly contributed to it, Tiki. I disagree with you.
But he also greatly contributed to them being in the game.
Yes.
What lost this game was the fact that this defense, which actually played really well. I mean, Pat Mahomes might have had one of the worst days of the last 3 or 4 years. And maybe this is the Zach Allen syndrome. Oh, we're just playing the Jets. I don't really have to be serious. I can throw these balls up.
I did think that for a second, by the way.
Right? Because that's what I said about Josh Allen in week one. Josh Allen was just, this is Jets. I'm going to complete this even though it's improbable. Right? That's what it felt like with Pat Mahomes with his 2 interceptions. But at the end of the day, they played really well. The reason that the Jets didn't have a chance is because the Kansas City Chiefs finished with a 14 and a 15 play drive. Get off the field. Close them down on third down. Yeah. This was the defense not living up to their standard.
Yes.
Now, hold on.
Yes.
Now, this is why I don't put so much fault on Zach Wilson. For the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, really, all that Jet fans have been doing is killing Zach Wilson. Killing him. He sucks. I don't care. I don't care if he takes another snap. I don't want to see him anymore. I'm done. Even I started to get to that point, even though I kind of believed that he still had something left in him. And so when he has a really good game, right, he comes back towards average. And for a lot of this game, played above average. In fact, he outplayed Pat Mahomes for most of this game. I can't sit here and say, well, now I need you to be exceptional and win a game for you, because he's not at that point yet, right? He's not there yet.
You
right?
laid out.
Maybe in like 5 weeks or 6 weeks of consistent play like this a little bit above average play, I can say, all right, kid, now you got to go win a football game, right? Now you got to take it on your shoulders, on your back, and carry this team when they need you most, or the defense lets you down, or special teams let you down. All right, pick it up. Let's go do it. I have no expectation that he's that kid.
No,
yet.
and that's why, by the way, the talk of Zach Wilson today and last night was of shock and amazement and, oh my God, this is the best performance of his career, because we set the bar so ridiculously low that the final 3 drives of this game, which were pathetic and reminded me of the first 3 drives of this game and reminded me a lot of his entire tenure here, is forgotten about and flushed. Because those middle 4 drives were so good and so shocking that we're almost deleting how this game ended. And I understand that because the bar is so low. And there's a myriad of reasons why they lost this game. I am not suggesting it is number one and only Zach Wilson. You mentioned the defense. The defense came out of the chute as pathetic as humanly possible. As pathetic as humanly possible. And it started immediately with that dumb penalty by Jermaine Johnson right out the gate. And they let the Chiefs march down the field and get 3. And then Isaiah Pacheco marches down the field for a 50-yard touchdown run. And before you know it, it's 10-0. And then Noah Gray's prancing into the end zone, and it's 17-0. If you're a big-time defense, and they certainly settled in, and they played a lot better after that, but if you're a big-time defense, you're not giving up 17 points in the first 9 minutes of a football game, which is exactly what they did. So they've got their own criticisms coming their way. Same with this head coach for some of the decisions he made. I'm merely pointing out what I think is obvious. Yes, Zach Wilson played really well compared to what we expected. And for the middle part of this game, he led them back in it, and I give him all the kudos in the world. But when they needed him the most, at 2020, he got the ball in his hands twice with a chance to march down the field. And in one of those situations, he got a huge run from Breece Hall, and the Jets offense was set up at the Kansas City 42 with a 1st and 10. And did nothing. Did nothing. So I'm just acknowledging that while there was some good in this game, and there's certainly more good than we've seen in a while, let's not act like this is all fixed, because here's the truth. Here's how I honestly feel about this. It's more likely than not that the middle 4 drives of last night's game will be a fart in the wind when it comes to this guy's career.
No chance.
I'm not a believer that everything's been fixed.
No chance.
Go, no chance what?
That's fact. That he's going to regress to the last 3 weeks. There's no chance that happens.
Do you think he's the long-term answer at quarterback for the Jets? You think last night was the switch?
I don't know. I think he is halfway up the block trying to go uptown. You know what that means? He hasn't quite turned the corner. Right? So he's halfway in the block. He's about to get to, I don't know, Park Avenue, and he wants to turn and go down the street. I don't know if he's there yet. But what he did yesterday was so encouraging, just from I'm not scared. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do and what I want to do, and the ball is going to come out of my hands on time, and it's going to give my wide receivers and tight ends, by the way, because that's who led it on the touchdown drive right after halftime. But there's 2 back shoulder throws they were perfect.
They were tremendous.
They were absolutely perfect. You couldn't have scripted it or drew it up any better.
Absolutely.
So I think he is walking down the block, and he's looking at the corner, and he's ready to turn it. He hasn't turned it yet. But I think there's a chance for him to be that guy. Because, by the way, he has all of the talents that you need, right? He's athletic enough, just like Pat Mahomes. He can run if he wants to. We saw it a couple of times. He can make any throw. We saw that a couple of times. He's getting smarter with, crap, there's nothing there. Let me just throw it to my running back or tight end. Like those little things that we weren't seeing at all in the first 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks plus. You start to see.
Absolutely. It's just very difficult to delete the final 3 drives of this game. And it seems like some people want to do that. Like, we just want to forget that after that electric drive coming out in the third quarter, in which they score a touchdown on an Allen Lazard touchdown pass on 3rd down, and he rushes for the 2-point conversion, and the place is electric. And I'm even saying, who's this guy? I don't recognize the quarterback. I can't ignore that the next drive, with great field position, by the way, at the 50, I can't ignore the next drive was a 3-and-out. I can't ignore that the drive after that, after Breece Hall went for 43, turned into essentially a 3-and-out. And I certainly can't ignore that he put the football in on the ground in a situation that is 100% on him, a play that changed everything. Because at 23-20, with 2nd and 9 from midfield, I don't know what's going to happen. You go get 15 or 20 more yards, this game could be tied. I don't know. And instead, the football's on the ground. The Chiefs get it, and he never sees it again.
I just don't feel like this was a complimentary loss. It's because coaches always talk about, we got to play complimentary football. All phases, offense, defense, special teams. It's a stupid cliche. You hear it all the time. Doesn't mean anything, but it's actually true, right? Type of thing. I feel like this was a complimentary loss. because, yes, Zach put the ball on the turf on their last possession, basically their last offensive play. But the defense simply couldn't get off the field.
Yeah, I agree.
And
that's on them.
To me, that was the most troubling thing.
Yes.
These last 2 drives of the Kansas City Chiefs were effectively a quarter plus, right? 5 minutes and 19 seconds.
Yes.
And then 10 minutes and 51 seconds. That's just crazy.
You're 100% right in terms of the blame on this defense. They settled down after going down 17-0, but in the latter part of the third quarter and most of the fourth quarter, like you described, their old bugaboo came back, which is they can't get off the field on third down. And what was so mind-numbing and what took your heart out is that it's 3rd and 22 and they can't get off the field. It's 3rd and 20, they can't get off the field. And I'll give you a small one that bothered me too. Let's not forget that when the Kansas City Chiefs had the ball at their own 21-yard line on the drive that turned into the game-winning field goal, the great Patrick Mahomes dropped the snap too.
Yeah.
And instead of it being turned over with the Jets getting the ball in the Chief red zone, Mahomes not only recovers it, but he recovers it for a 2-yard gain and a first down. And that was a killer.
Yeah.
That was a small little nugget killer from this game.
That's true. Because that was third. That was second down.
It was second down?
That was second down.
But still, the ball's on the ground.
But that's a weird. See, sometimes to me, that's luck. That's just the ball bouncing the right way for Pat Mahomes. It came right back to him. I think the Jets were going in. I mean, it was nobody in front of them. You know what I mean? It was like there was no jet to recover that fumble. But sometimes you're just lucky. And also, sometimes you're under center as opposed to in shotgun, like Zach Wilson was.
Yep. Sometimes you're lucky. Sometimes you get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the officials.
No,
is that not true?
No, you're right. But sometimes you got to earn those things, and the Jets just haven't earned them.
Mark is in Sayas to kick it off. What's up, Mark?
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Evan, I don't think I've ever said this before, but you're right about Zach Wilson.
Thanks.
The fact of the matter is that he showed promise, without question. He showed promise. Is he the answer? I don't think so. But he left a lot on the field. Aside from the fumble, there were 3 times I saw he missed touchdown opportunities. Obviously, the overthrow to Garrett Wilson in the end zone. There was one play where he had Michael Carter standing wide open in the flat, and all he had to do was get it to him for a 20-yard scamper. So he's still not there yet. But he did show promise. He looked better. Is he the answer? I don't think he is. I think they still need more at quarterback. But at least you are now able to. At least he showed he can compete. And I think you've got a step in the right direction for the Jets. I really do.
It gives most Jet fans more hope going into next week in Denver. But unfortunately, it is more likely than not that we're going to look back at Sunday, October 1st, as a fart in the wind in Zach Wilson's career. That it's going to be very similar to Geno Smith. Sorry to bring up his name, guys, since you're facing him tonight. Geno Smith on Monday night in Atlanta. And Jet fans know what I'm talking about. Where there's that moment where you're like, oh, it was a lot of good. And by the way, the difference in that game is the Jets won that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the thing I can't get over is they lost. And on the final 3 drives of this game, Zach was 4 for 7 for 30 yards, and they had 1 first down. Like, that's what happened. And as much as he shocked all of us, especially me, with how he played at the end of the second quarter and how he played in the opening drive of the third quarter, I can't just erase how the game started and, unfortunately, Tiki, how the game ended.
Yeah, but, again, it's a team sport. This was a complimentary loss. Coaches like to use that terminology to talk about what winning football looks like. They lost it collectively.
We will get to some of the other collective ways they lost, including Robert Saleh's decisions on the sidelines, our reaction to the firing of Buck Showalter, and David Stearns officially being announced and introduced as the new president of the New York Mets. And we'll obviously get you set for a big Monday night at MetLife Stadium between the Giants and the Seahawks. The toll-free number is 877-337-6666.